I want to come back to this epigenetic piece. You quickly went over the fact that babies can make vitamin C. Because of epigenetic changes, adult humans can't. Do we have any more detail on why that would happen? If vitamin C is such an important antioxidant for all these systems and cells in the body, why would that happen?
Good question. And let me say, do we know exactly what's happening? No, but there's some information we can put together, which is, as I said, most babies can make their own vitamin C because they have a nice, pristine liver and they don't have the incredible melting pot of toxins early on. But as they get older, the food and the air and the water changes and they do more and more and start getting older with other little kids, then they get exposed to more toxins. I say epigenetic because genetic defect is where there's an alteration in the DNA code. You got the wrong code there. That's a fixed genetic defect. In this case, the code for the vitamin C exists, and the messenger RNA gets poorly transcribed. It hits what's called a stop codon. And so you end up with an incomplete, non-functioning enzyme. Once again, going back on what I talked about being the only cause of disease and excess oxidation, it applies here as well. It would appear, this is my conclusion. Do I have a paper that states this? No, this is my conclusion, is that a relatively common, extremely common, unique array of toxins, as the baby gets older, there's a greater and greater exposure, and it uniquely, for the chemical characteristics of the toxins, causes abnormal oxidation on this translation site. Now, having said that, I'm really glad you asked this because this is an important thing to introduce, is there have been discovered agents that reverse or block this blockage, okay? One of the prominent ones is hydroxytyrosol, which is an antioxidant polyphenol that's usually concentrated in high amounts in olive leaf extract. And very clear-cut studies on volunteers, they take the 50 milligrams of hydroxytyrosol a day, and within 2 weeks, they've doubled their resting vitamin C levels inside their blood. There are different speculations as to what's causing that. I don't think there's any way possible that it's caused by anything other than the fact that you're unblocking the body's ability to make vitamin C. And to this end, I think I covered this in the book. If not, I covered it in a paper. In order to establish this, my colleague, Dr. Ron Honeyhacky, and I, a couple years ago, were taking hydroxytyrosol, all right, and we wanted to test the ability of the liver to make more vitamin C. Now, briefly recalling what happens normally if a non-functioning liver in terms of making vitamin C encounters a large amount of toxins, pro-oxidant. It metabolizes and uses up all the vitamin C in the blood. So whatever your vitamin C level is, you take a large amount of toxins, the level's going to drop, right? Well, what happens if your liver is functioning well, this is not blocked, and you take a large amount of toxins, the liver vitamin C production is going to rise. So simply measuring blood levels of vitamin C before, during, and after is going to give you an idea of what your liver is going to do. So I went to Wichita, where Dr. Honeyhacky works and lives, stayed at his house, and we chose our poisons. All right. He chose malt beer and I chose Scotch whiskey. And we had some people there to take care of us and draw blood at the house and everything like that. So anyway, he took a large amount of his beer. I took a large amount of our Scotch. And the both of us, we had nice vitamin C levels at the start. And the second measurement, after we were already moderately blissed, the vitamin C was sky high. Not only was it sky high, it stayed sky high for a full 24 hours to metabolize the alcohol until it came back down again. I consider that personally to be proof positive of the fact that, number one, we can make our own vitamin C, and number two, something like hydroxytyrosol is able to reduce whatever areas got oxidized by this unique array of toxins that brought about the epigenetic defect to begin with.
Okay, given what you just shared there, these agents that can reverse this change in the liver, is this recommended part of your protocol to take those? Or are we just looking at that to see the physiology?
No,
Because it
not. It's
seems like,
recommended. It's recommended.
okay, because to me it seems like to objectively make sure on a regular basis you're getting to those levels in the body of vitamin C, from what you're sharing, it doesn't sound like that would be a totally reliable way. But you still
No, I mean,
recommend
no,
putting
I
that
don't.
into the mix.
I'm not recommending doing this and not taking any vitamin C at all. Okay, no, I mean, I think you should do both. Also, too, remember what I was talking about the GLP-1s too, and maybe this is also why I responded so well in my symptomatology is because I've been taking the olive leaf extract for quite some time that has a high concentration of hydroxytyrosol. So if you're making your own vitamin C, once again, what else you're doing? You're using up your glucose. So you have less glucose circulating because it's being turned into vitamin C. And then combine that with the increased insulin level of the GLP-1, and then more of the vitamin C goes inside the cell. For a long time, I had what I call my Super 8 supplements that I talked about in the book. And when people ask, I say, this is my highest recommendation for baseline supplementation. That's not to say X, Y, and Z might not be good for you, but there's a lot of people that don't have much money. So I try to give the optimal supplement program for as minimal an investment as possible. And recently I've called it now the Super 8 Plus 1 because I think it's important to include the olive leaf extract.
Since you made it to the end of this clip, I know you're going to love the full episode. Click here to watch. I'll see you over there.
The only cause of disease are agents that oxidize, and the only agents that oxidize are toxins. Thousands upon thousands of toxins in air, water, food. Before somebody just pulls their hair out, how can I